All right. Are you ready? Woo! Some of you are not ready and you don't even know it. Let's give it a go. How many of you are in ministry for the first 5 years? You're a pastor for less than 5 years. Please stand. All right. Praise the Lord for you. Thank you. How many of you are in ministry for more than 40 years? Please stand. More than 40. Praise the Lord for you too. I hope you both noticed the people that got up. You need to connect with each other. In ministry, you develop various phases. There are multiple books that talk about it. But I'll share a little bit about this first, and then we'll have time to get through the details. In the first 10 years of your ministry, God is less interested in working through you as He is in working within you. Amen. That applies to elders too. But we don't know that. So we are frustrated when God puts us in difficult situations. There is no growth when you're comfortable. It doesn't happen. We have not witnessed growth in comfort in the history of humanity. It's not going to start with you. So whenever you find difficult circumstances, those are God's teachable circumstances. And as God is trying to transform you. Because you need to know, pastors and elders, the business that you're in. You see, if you study business, and many of you have, McDonald's is not in the hamburger business. They're not in the food business. What's the business for McDonald's? Real estate. That's their business. Their business is real estate. So if you want to start a McDonald's, the general thing is you buy the building from them, and then you sell burgers and you employ people and you work the whole strategy out locally. But their money isn't made on the burgers. Their money is made on the real estate. You, pastor, I could give you multiple examples. You need to know the business you're in. Your business is not preaching. Your business is not management. So I'm going to tell you what your business is. And you will agree with me, obviously. Your business is transformation of people. Deep down, that's it. We have a different name for it in Christianity. We call it discipleship. Because that's the name Jesus called. When He calls 12 nobodies to be His disciples, His ministry as a rabbi was the ministry of transformation, which involved two scary things. Look at me, copy me, look at God. That was the process. And then we're not surprised when the disciples do exactly that. Paul had the audacity to even proclaim, copy me as I'm copying Jesus. If you're going to help other people go through a process of transformation, dearest pastor and elder, you have to be intimately familiar with the cycle of pain and growth and transformation that God will constantly put you through. You have to recognize it. And most importantly, you must have the courage to become vulnerable enough to share that you are also growing. We're going to talk about pastoral care today. You probably haven't thought about it, but when you sit down in someone's lounge and you ask them what's going on in their lives, many of them have heard you preach for years. You have become the embodiment of who God is to them. You are the standard. Do you think they're going to be excited about sharing their failures with you? Self-disclosure is the essence of pastoral care. If people don't share what's really going on in their hearts, there's nothing you can do to help them. Vulnerability is at the heart of this. There is no connection without vulnerability. You will just have a constant feeling of shame among people that go to church. I used to pastor a church in London. They were very legalistic at first. I'm not talking about just, you're generally conservative. No. This is fundamentalists. Those are the elders that left the other churches because they weren't holy enough. Do you know what I'm talking about? And they formed their own church. What happens in legalism is that there is zero vulnerability, and you end up with a dead church that is bathed in shame. Some of your families have a shameful culture. You can't do anything wrong. It's just shame constantly. Jesus has come to take away your guilt and your shame. But in order for you to destroy shame, you must go through the process of being vulnerable. And by the way, your church isn't perfect. I tell people, look, the Adventist church isn't perfect. In fact, if you find a perfect church, don't join it because you're going to mess it up. So, how do you create an environment where pastoral care becomes a reality? That is a really important question to ask. And we're going to talk about some of this today. I remembered yesterday how somewhat intimidating it is to speak in front of pastors. Because your life is preaching, right? Every week, 1, 2, 3 sermons. Oh, I missed that very much. Now I need to beg people to preach. But thankfully, I get the odd opportunity like now in some local churches that invite me to preach now and again, and it's wonderful. But the reason why it's somewhat worrisome is that no one likes being judged. Isn't that right? So there is the quality of my sermons. When you start in ministry, that really should concern you. You need to get better and better and better and better. And then there is this story. It never happened. It's a joke. Cue for joke. It's coming. This old pastor came home one day and found a box in an area of the house that he hadn't looked at, and he was looking for something else. He found a box. He brought the box, and what's this? A shoe box. He brought the box. He found $850 something in the box and 6 eggs. He thought, this is so intriguing. So when his wife came home, first thing, I need to know what this is about. They sat down in the lounge. She looked and she went, huh. What is it? He goes, well, honey, when we graduated and we started ministry, you asked me to rate your sermons. So I've been doing that. Okay, how does it work? Well, for every bad sermon you preach, I put an egg in the box. And the pastor thought, that's quite good. 30-some years of ministry, and I only have 6 eggs. And she said, no, honey, is that when it got to a dozen, I sold them. So, my prayer is that you will not wonder or worry about the quality of the message yesterday and the message now, but that you will focus on the content thereof, because it can be transformative. Let's start with the research here. Open your phone. Pick up your phone, please. I know you have them. It's never 1 meter away from you. The level of anxiety that people feel when their phone disappears, it's tantamount to therapy. So you have your phone. Scan that QR code. You will find my Twitter profile. Hopefully you have a Twitter account. If you're prone to anxiety, do not start a Twitter account. Not worth it. But if you're interested in Twitter, I suggest you follow. This will lead you to my profile. There is a survey there, and I want you to answer that survey, please. It asks if you've ever conducted an online digital visit. So go to the QR code. If you want to go straight to Twitter, just search for the handle S.A. Neves. S.A. Neves. And then there is a survey there. You just respond to the survey. And my Twitter is dedicated to pastors who need both language and courage to deal with new topics that are coming up. So I take on different topics, most of them very controversial. I recently took on the LGBT questions and issues, It was not fun, but it was necessary. And if you are looking, Pastor, for language and courage to answer some of these difficult questions, follow this account. It will help you. If you have questions, DM me. I follow every pastor that follows me. I follow back. Just DM me your question, and I'm going to think long and hard, talk to different people, and come up with very succinct, straightforward answers that hopefully will be helpful to you. But for now, let's look at the survey. If you've answered the survey, how many people said yes? 40% said yes. Let's give it to one more minute. 50-50? No. Let me try again. Okay. I only have a few votes on mine, so it's not updating properly. Let's try again. Okay, so what's the percentage of people so far that said yes to the survey? 60%. So if we extrapolate the data, let's say out of 400 people that are here, 60% of that would be 200 and something. 40, right? Okay, around 240. So around 240 of you have conducted what I have named there a digital visit, which through instant messaging, to be very specific. Now, what does that mean exactly, and why is that the future of pastoral care for the Adventist Church? Good timing there, whatever that was. You know, drop the signal for effect. It's gone. Let's wait till that comes back, and we'll see our next slide. So we realize that people that are searching for spiritual content online, they're searching for answers, but they're not willing to engage with established organizations for answers to their questions for fear that those answers will be ideologically driven. I'll say that again. Somebody wants to know about the truth in Scripture. They have a hesitancy when it comes from a large church organization because they know that organization will just reflect the knowledge of what they believe. It's as simple as that. It's the equivalent of you going to find something from the Bible and you find the Mormon website or you find this generic Christian website. Which are you most likely going to click on? The generic, generally. Not always, but generally. Unless you can't find it anywhere else, then by all means. So we tested answers to questions. We tested invitations to public meetings, invitations to music. We tested giving people free health stuff. We tested everything. And what we discovered is that there is nothing more powerful than prayer. Offering prayer online, people are looking for established church organizations that are willing to pray for them. It is unbelievable what we managed to see, what we managed to accomplish through this campaign. 2 million prayer requests sent by over 500,000 people who are not Adventist. Before February last year, Facebook allowed us to target by religion. So we excluded Seventh-day Adventists from all of our campaigns. Not that we don't want to pray for our brothers and sisters, we do. But this was a prototype that had a focus on those that are not Seventh-day Adventists. So we focused on them, and they came. If we start advertising right now and we say, let's spend $50 a day globally offering prayer, it would take every pastor and elder and spouse here about 8 hours a day for a week just to respond to these people. We cannot handle the volume of people around the world that are willing to engage with us and tell us the deepest, darkest, most profound crisis that they're going through. But it doesn't start that way. When people contact us, they just say, I need prayer. But what we're offering is not customer service. We're offering online pastoral care. So we then answer back within 3 minutes. Thanks for reaching out. What's going on? How can we best pray for you? Okay. You pray for your studies. What are you hoping to study? Without self-disclosure, there is no pastoral care. So ask them questions. And we're going to go through some sentences that you're going to use in your ministry if you're interested. So we did this globally. So that worked really well. I mentioned yesterday there was one thing that we couldn't figure out how to do. Do you remember what it was? From the global contacts to the local church contacts. Okay, so we tried different things. And the thing that we worked the most is to offer the ads locally. You know, this is like a math equation. Once you know the answer, it's easy. Okay, so once we realized, hold on a minute, let's offer the ads locally. Well, duh. So we did that in New Zealand. It was amazing. The local church offered pastoral care. It worked. Then we tried it in Brazil. Because everything you try in Brazil works, right? The ads part worked really well. We focused on the city of Fortaleza. We worked with the division, the union, the conference, and we said, let's try this out. Everybody was interested. So we put $10 a day in ads that focused within 5 kilometers, that's 3 miles only, of this church in the city of Fortaleza. And we said, let's focus on those that have Android 10 and above. At the time, it was like the top phone. So we are defining the people who live in the city center who are wealthy. $10 a day. This is what happened. In 3 days, we had to turn off the ads because too many people got in touch with us. Thousands and thousands. And the church couldn't handle it. So Brazil was not a success. It was a total failure because the local church members could not handle the volume that was coming in. The conference decided to hire a pastoral care team member that would work from the conference and offer pastoral care. And they've had many Bible studies and baptisms as a result of those few days that we left the ads on. But we learned our lesson because we're prototyping. Design thinking methodologies are used in Silicon Valley more than anywhere else in the world. That's why they're so successful. Which means that you try a little thing. Does it work? Well, 3 things worked, 16 did not. Well, get rid of the 16 and let's try new things with those that worked. And you refine that process until you have an unbelievably focused product. We don't have a product yet. All we have are prototypes and experiments so far. And we're going to continue doing that for 2 more years. The Adventist church is very large. I learned this coming to the general conference. I thought I had an idea of how large the Adventist church was. I had no idea. For every McDonald's that you see in the world, there are 4 Adventist congregations. If you take every McDonald's, every Subway, and every Starbucks in the world and put them together, it does not come to the number of congregations that we have globally. Praise the Lord, right? Obviously, here's the tragedy. Yet, no one knows who we are. Our problem isn't prejudice. Our problem is ignorance. YouGov just did a survey, one of the most comprehensive surveys I've seen on religious perception in the U.S., about the net favorability of multiple religious groups. Which means the question was to everyone, for this religious group, are you disfavorable, are you neutral, or are you favorable to this particular, Jehovah's Witnesses, Adventists, Mormons, Catholics, Protestants, etc. Christians were the most favorable, as you would expect, 34 plus. And then it goes down. And then at 0 is Assemblies of God. And where are the Seventh-day Adventists? We are at minus 12. Which means, okay, so let's look at the data. What's going on here? over 50% of people who responded is neither favorable or not favorable. Why? Because they have no idea who we are. We score more favorably than the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses and many others, but we are 2 steps above Wicca. So it's basically Adventists and witchcraft very close together in how favorable people are with both of them. Ouch, right? Yeah. So let's start fixing that problem. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to start. You're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you. Stop giving other names to your best projects rather than associating them with the Adventist church. Whenever there is a beautiful project, somebody says, we need to find a designer to develop a logo. If you're a designer, you received a phone call from somebody that said, I have a project and I need a logo. Describe the project. I'm not sure yet. We are a factory of logos. That's what we've become. And for other people, every time they see your special little logo in your special little place, they think it's another church. They don't associate the great things you're doing with the Seventh-day Adventist church. I love Apple. It's no secret. And I study it very deeply. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple in 1999-2000, Apple was worthless. In fact, it was less than worthless. People did not believe that it had any future and they hated it. When Steve came back, he didn't turn to them and said, guys, no one likes Apple. Let's change the name. Let's find other ways of... No, he said, we are going to show people how phenomenal this company is. Today, he showed them that the values and principles that they had was valuable. To what degree is Apple valuable? I'm going to list the name of companies here, okay? I saw that, and I don't think I'll be able to remember it. If you take, I think Nike and Sony and McDonald's and Starbucks and 10 more of these large companies and you put them together, they're not as valuable as Apple is. If we are going to impact the world needs to know who we are. So take the funds that you've been building and waiting for Jesus to come and use those funds to put up signage that clearly identifies your church as a Seventh-day Adventist church. That's really important. So, next. After Brazil, we said, let's try the United States. But we're going to try using our global church Portuguese channel. Let's try not with the American churches just yet. Let's try with ethnic churches first. We have a good team that offers pastoral care in Portuguese, and so let's give it a go. What you see here are the real numbers, because when you talk about digital advertising, there is a sentence, is talk is good, numbers are better, right? Show me your screenshot. And this is the screenshot. So this is Orlando campaign. We have a phenomenal team of paid traffic ads. And we're offering prayer. That's all we're doing. It's a simple ad. Actually, it's not that simple. We go through hundreds of iterations of ads before we define those that are high performers. Do you see those campaigns on the left? There is a, let me see if I have a laser. No. So on the top left, I could use my phone, but it would take a while to connect. On the top, on the left, you see on and off. Do you see that? Yes. Do you see that only one of them is on? Yes. We've tested for weeks and weeks all of the previous ones so that we could find a way to optimize the campaign and get the cheapest possible cost per relationship. Okay, so it's an iterative process. We have many designers and many videographers, and as I mentioned, there are over 100 people that are focused on making all of this work. So Orlando was next. On the bottom right, we spent on this prototype $2,245.72. We have reached 24,193 different people. They saw these ads 150,076 times. It appeared to them on their screen. Okay? So this is the equivalent of a leaflet through the door. and they look at the leaflet and they chuck it. Most people look at the ad and they go through. Remember the 10 people we had yesterday? Out of 10 people, only 3 are in crisis. And a small number of those will connect with you today. So how many people connected with us? 324 people connected with us. Let me share with you what I asked my team to do from last night. Last night I thought, let me share some stuff. Guys, can you collect the new messages that arrive from now on and give me some indication? So I'm about to show you redacted screenshots because I don't have their permission to share the data with you, but I've redacted their name and so on, and we're going to look at what my team relayed to me. So here on the left one, okay, so this is on the left. Roberto Roberti, I'll tell you more about him in a moment. He is our top guy in the Portuguese team who's focusing on this. So that first person there, she contacted us, and her husband has been cheating on her for a while. And yesterday she asked God to let her know that he exists. Without knowing this, our prayer warrior, our pastoral care team, sent this message to her on the top that says, the last sentence says, know that beyond just us, we are always by your side, and we want you to know that the creator of the universe is always by your side. He knows your struggles, and he has accepted to fight with you, to struggle with you. Amen? And then she replied, very thankful that she had just asked God to reveal himself to her, and that's how God chose to reveal himself to her. Next, over here. Hi, Afonso. Would you like to visit one of our churches? Notice this. We are building a relationship between people and the world church. Why is that important? Because if they visit your church and they have a bad experience, let's hope not, but the probability is likely in many places. I mean, have you visited our churches? There are some of our churches that will suck the life out of you. By the time you finish, you're hopeless. Right? All the conference is not here, but I tell you, if you visit other places, that will be your experience. We need to be realistic. Right? I'm not interested in perception. I'm interested in truth and reality. We cannot plan with a wishful thinking. No, we need to plan with reality. So that means that the relationship people have is with the world church. Which means that if they don't connect with that church that they visited, that's fine. We have plenty of others. You see the importance? So the question from our team was, would you like to visit one of our churches? And what's the response? Sim. Yes. Well, there you go. Thank you. This Sabbath. But what's the difference? We know where he is. He's in Orlando. And guess which church is fully prepared to receive the visitors? The Orlando church. The Portuguese-speaking church in Orlando. They're ready. Next. Next at the top, let me see. Another same question. Would you like to visit would you like one of our members, one of our brothers from the church, from our church to get in touch with you? And his response is, of course. I live in this town, in this neighborhood. Just like that. Why? Because people, we've been paying attention to them for weeks. Friends, there is no resource in the world more valuable than someone giving you their undivided attention. And I want to thank you, because that's what you're giving me right now. It's precious, and I value it deeply. The attention of someone else to care for you is more valuable than gold. It's more valuable than Bitcoin. There is no price. And when we pay attention to people, of course they want to know us. Next. Over there on the top. I think it's easier for me to read over here. This woman, her name is Mary, she was having a relationship with a married man. And this particular case is not in Orlando, it's somewhere else. I remember this. And what our team did is that we told her, this is going to lead to destruction. It's a sin. And God's not in this. You need to end this relationship. Amen. Pastors, do not be scared to call sin by its right name. Sometimes I feel that we've told pastors to be so friendly with your congregations that you become their friends. Look, your members can have many friends, but they have one pastor, and maybe you, and you need to do your job. When you connect with them with the authority that the Holy Spirit has given you. Much of my problems in early ministry is that I did not want to be called pastor. Just call me by my first name. You know, I'm just another minister here in the church. In my experience, what people are looking for is spiritual authority that God has given you to speak truth into their lives. Amen. They want to be reminded. And some of you are pastors of very wealthy members. I have a friend who has become a pastor also. His father was one of the wealthiest people I've ever met in person. He used to go to work in a helicopter. Really wealthy guy. And he became an Adventist. He sponsored a lot of projects, and he always had conference presidents and people that came to his house on Sabbath, and it was wonderful. And my friend told me the disappointment that this guy had when none of the pastors he called reminded him that having maids on Sabbath to serve lunch is not appropriate, and God does not want that. Think about that for a moment. Sometimes we're scared to point people to God's desire for them. So we did that to Mary. Mary, what you're doing is wrong. It's a sin. It's not God's plan for your life, and God wants to give you freedom. You need to end this relationship. Guess what Mary did? She ended the relationship. And she has now come to church, and hopefully in the next few months, she'll be baptized. One thing I forgot to mention. Look on the top right. All of this is from November 1, 2022 to January 22, today. Okay, so all of these happened in the since yesterday. All these dialogues happened since yesterday. Screenshots from yesterday to today. And all of the campaign is started in this way. So a couple more. Over here. This guy decided to prepare for baptism. He's been coming to church, but no one in the church knows he's already made that decision. And he thanks for the support. He's about to tell people in the local church that he wants to be baptized. But he told the pastoral care team first. Sometimes we don't realize that the stories of the eunuch that wanted to be baptized in a few minutes, and the stories of the jailer that night after listening to the truth wanted to be baptized, the Holy Spirit is the same in the first century as in the 21st century. There are people that are ready to make that decision. But we don't know where they are. They've locked themselves up in their houses. And the wealthier they are, the less access you have. But the greatest their need, the more access to technology, and the more they respond to the ads. At the bottom, let me see if I can read it. I should have made it bigger. If I can't read it, what's the hope for you? I'm called, okay, so she's been in Orlando for 7 months. Where is the church? I would love to go to the worship services, and I would love to help in community services. I live in a local neighborhood. And then we ask her, would you accept the visit of our pastor to get in touch with you? And she said, yes. Okay? So he said to me, these are some messages, and you can read over there. Now, you know the time frame. This is since November. 24 people have decided for baptism since November. 27 people that had left the church are now attending again. There have been 3 baptisms already, and there is one more for next week. Something, you can clap, because that's impossible. We are very excited with this prototype, with this concept, because it unlocks real ministry. You see, sometimes people think that the new tools and techniques on digital marketing are going to fulfill the mission. There is no such thing as virtual evangelism. Why? Because God doesn't answer prayers from chatbots. Tweet that. God does not answer prayer from chatbots. Not even ChatGPT. Doesn't happen. If you're wondering what it is, just Google it later. But make sure you're sitting down when you look at the video, okay? You might fall in the middle of the presentation. It is still people on each end of the technology. No amount of technology or methods will fulfill this mission. It will still be people caring for other people because they received love from Jesus, they pass on to others. Nothing will change that. But there are better ways of communicating with them, and by God's grace, we're going to use all of them. I want to show you in very practical ways some sentences that you can use to provide online pastoral care to your members. Pastors and elders, your members expect you to visit them digitally. It's as simple as that. And this is all over the world. Here is the first sentence you could send. In this scenario, Jack is a church member, and his cousin is going through some difficulties. Jack, this is Pastor Sam here. I will spend some time this week praying for you and your family. Let me know what has been on your heart recently. So, Tuesday morning, you send a message. That's the message. You say, I'm gonna sit with my phone, drinking my favorite beverage, and I'm going to chat with my members and visit them digitally. It's what I'm going to do. Elder, pastors, same thing. You have a list, go through it. Then you contact them. That's the first sentence. That's all it takes. You notice it's the same thing you ask if you're sitting in their living room. You notice that? Pretty much the same. It's not that different. You've got this. You've been doing this for years. Next sentence. They are likely to reply with, pray for my family, or pray for my cousin. Don't end the conversation there and say, okay, I'll pray for that. No. You need to be engaged in pastoral care. Most of them will feel that they're taking too much of your attention, so they're trying to be as short as possible, not to bother you. I have a feeling sometimes that us pastors, we project an image of being busy when really we're not that busy. Because we don't want to engage fully with people. Okay? And pastors, some of you are more agreeable. That means that you are more compassionate. And some of you, God made you to be more disagreeable, which means that you struggle to be compassionate. Okay? Cholerics, lift your hand. No cholerics in the room. God did not make cholerics for Central California Conference. Okay, so if you... No, it's, yeah. That I would be describing myself. If you like to get things done, how many of you really love getting things done? Put your hands up. Is that better? I think that's better. Okay. You struggle with compassion because your favorite vehicle is the bulldozer. You're going to get things done even if you roll over people to get it done. Look, don't feel guilty about that. God made you this way. But it does not mean that you need to continue this way in how you relate to people. I'm much more interested in solving someone's problem than sitting and crying next to them. And if all we had was very compassionate people that never did anything, the level of suffering in the world would increase exponentially. At the same time, you need to learn to sit down next to people and just listen and sometimes cry with them. That's important. So, ask them more details about those stories until you have enough that you can actually pray for properly. Next sentence. I'll be praying about this over the next few days. Let your cousin know that I believe God will come through in his life. Set the expectation. Sometimes we talk about prayer and we use the caveat of, well, God's will be done. Let's see what happens. No prayer warrior that you've ever met has this language. I mentioned my mom yesterday. My mom is a prayer warrior, right? I mentioned that. My mom starts by saying, God, we are entering the throne room of the universe, knowing that you are fully powerful to deliver all that we need. That's her first sentence. She doesn't ask God for a thing, she demands it. You have prayer warriors like that in your church. Get close to them and rely on them. They are your ministry. It is obvious they will accept what God will do, but they are going to make it clear to the universe the desire of their hearts. And when we are in crisis, isn't it true that those are the people that we go to? We don't go to the person that says, well, no. No. So let them know that you believe that God can do it. They will feel that assurance through you. Oh, but some of you, like me, don't want to lose our reputation. We're logical beings. We don't want to appear to be fanatics. Don't be scared of other people's reputation, of how they perceive your reputation. Ministry is more important than your reputation. And if you believe God can do it, be who you truly, honestly are. There is another myth. I talked yesterday about the myth of the unreachable generation. That's a myth. Let it go. It's not true. Next myth for today. The myth of the irresistible church. For the last 20 years, we have allowed marketers and PR experts to tell us that mission starts after our reputation is wonderful in a community. Once we have great community service, once we are known, once we are loved, once people know that we are great, then when we proclaim, they will be interested. This would have been, if that happens, it would be the first time in the history of Christianity. Because so far, everyone who stood up to proclaim the words of Jesus has been persecuted, killed, or somewhat ostracized from society. So you think you're going to be different. The myth of the irresistible church is that if we project our image to be really good, people will be attracted. This is a myth. I come from Europe, 11 years in churches in Europe. The Europeans invented this myth. Somehow the Europeans write, the Americans make it happen. That's usually what happens. So the theory comes from Europe, the Americans make it happen, generally about 5 years afterwards. I don't know why, it just happens. This theory started in Europe. Oh, if we're really good in the community, people will ask questions. No one ever asks questions. It was only when I listened to my mom and I did things completely differently that baptism started coming. 15 to 20 a year in a church that didn't baptize for a few years. Why? Because the truth is more important than being relevant. Truth is a terrible servant. Tweet that, yeah. Truth is a terrible is a terrible servant. It's a great master. We have tried to create relevance and make it king, make the master of relevance. It's a terrible master. It's a good servant. You need to tell the truth in a relevant way. That's what we're discussing. But do not hold back on truth. Because the world is desperate for people that are transparent and genuine and people who are truly what they say they are. If you're trying to hide behind an image that isn't true, as soon as people know you, it's over. How many people do you visit that project an image of a beautiful family, and within 3 minutes of their home, you know that they are fighting with each other all the time? There are some families that project an image, but when you come close, it's like they're trying to strangle each other, constantly. Be who you truly, honestly are. That is so important to this generation, more than whatever PR spin we can add to it. Then you need to follow up. 3 sentences for follow-up. The first, hi Jack, when I was praying for you and your cousin, God reminded me of Psalm 24. The righteous cry out and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. God is right there next to your cousin right now. Let them know everything will work out in the end. And if it doesn't work out, it's because it's not the end. Essentially, a message of hope grounded in God's words. Your words may be great. Your words may be good, but only God's word is great. So use it in your pastoral care. Another sentence, how's your cousin feeling today? When you go through that cycle, which usually should be about a week, for that person, you have your list. It's 1 week, you have a list of 15, and you spend a week on those 15 or so. Then the last part is, thanks for the update, Jack. I've passed his name to our prayer warriors. If anything changes, let me know. So now Jack knows you are no longer actively praying for his cousin. And that's important, because no one prays for everybody all the time. Right? So he knows, okay, pastor prayed, the elder prayed for my cousin. Now it's in the prayer warriors. The prayer warriors will continue praying. How many of you have a really active prayer warrior team in your church, whatever you call it, with at least 3 people? Very active with at least 3 people. Okay. If you're looking for a place to start, don't start on your phone. Start there. You need to have prayer warriors that are active in this. It has fascinated me how people are sharing this kind of thing online. So I decided to pursue my PhD on this subject. I am a researcher of the University of Westminster in London, and I'm researching the impact of digital communication on pastoral care in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I need to interview pastors. I would love to have you as part of this research. So if you could give me half an hour of your time for me to ask some questions about how you're doing these digital visits and what have you, then please visit this link. And again, if you missed the link, you can contact me on Twitter. I'll send the link to you, and you can apply to be part of the research. We have very few pastors in the world that are doing this. Actually, we have many that are doing this. They just don't know that there is a name for it. So if you have been one of those pastors that have been helping people online, and now you know it's called online pastoral care, I would love to get to know you. I would love to interview you. I want to end with a story. A long time ago, about 12 years ago, there was a police officer in São Paulo. And he contacted the page for the South American division called Adventistas Brasil, which is the official page of the Adventist Church in Brazil. Church has north of 1 million followers. And he said to them, I would like to talk to people that get in touch with us. And so they checked, and he was really an Adventist member from a church in São Paulo. We checked okay, let's let him do it. And Roberto, as a police officer, his main job was to drive the commander of that particular region. So he would be escorting the commander to different meetings in different places, and he would wait until the meetings were finished, and then he would go somewhere else. So he started helping people online, offering prayer, connecting with them the following week, and then the following week, and then the following week. Then 2015 came in October. The World Church invited me to do what I'm doing now as an associate director of communication for the General Conference. And my first trip was to South America. And I was interviewed at the Hope Channel, and the person asked me, tell me about digital evangelism. My response to them was, I don't believe it exists. 7 years ago. And I said, it takes years to build trust with the pastor for people to share what's really going on in their lives. And the interviewer, asked some follow-up questions and so on. But this guy saw the interview on television. And through the division, he got my number. And he said to me, Pastor, I'm so-and-so, and I don't think you are right. Truth. I have a commitment to truth. I get tingles of excitement when somebody looks at me in the eye and I think you're wrong. Why? Because I anticipate the greatest joy of my life, which is to learn. And so when people tell you, I don't think you're right, it's like, growth opportunity, let's go. What do you mean? He said, can I send you some screenshots? Okay, so he started sending me some screenshots. And the kind of things that people were sharing blew my mind. How can people trust a church that isn't even theirs? And that's why I started the research. His name is Roberto Roberti. He is still a police officer. The pioneer of online pastoral care for the Adventist church is a layperson. Amen. You can clap because this is really special. I have received over 1,000 photos of baptism in the last 7 years just from his ministry. I am learning from him. And Pastor, Justin was talking to me today that they want to try to establish this process right here in Central California Conference between the ads, the prayer meeting, and so on. We're trying to articulate how the North American division aim, because they have chaplains that are just waiting to get started on this, and how the General Conference, the North American division, and the conference here can work together. We don't know if it's going to work well. There are many things that God will need to do for that to happen properly. But if you and your church would like to try this out in the next set of prototypes that we run, then I want to make an appeal to you. You notice with the music? If the Holy Spirit is touching your heart, even if you're a laggard and you don't like anything new, but if you're convicted that this is worth trying and you would like to help the World Church to understand how to do this for the whole world, contact Justin Kim at the conference. He's going to take your names, and then you will be able to go back to your churches and apply to be part of the prototype. We're looking for churches all over the world to be part of the next set of prototypes. We have 2 more years to do all the learning before we move it to the world. The Adventist church is really large, and it's very difficult to move it in any given direction. Before you say, this is where we need to go, you need to know exactly if it worked in reality in multiple parts of the world before you point in any given direction. And we know that since the pandemic, the future of the Adventist church will include digital. It's not an option anymore. So where is it that we are going? Right now, we are not 100% sure. God has already led us in some directions, and we need to go next. So I want to take, just to have an idea, if you or your church, if you are interested in being part of this, and you're going to contact Justin later, let me have an indication of it through your, please stand if you think this might work. All right. Justin, you're going to be busy, mate. Thank you very much. You may be seated. I want to thank you for the opportunity of being here. I'm on my way to Manila. I leave now directly to the airport. And I want to tell you that the last couple of days for me have been absolutely unforgettable. The way that you treat each other and the way that you relate to each other has been very inspiring to me. Whenever you visit a family, whenever visitors visit your church, they are less interested in how you treat them. They are much more interested in how you treat each other. And I've seen how you treat each other. I've seen the smiles. I've seen how gracious you are in the corridors and everywhere. So I can tell that the Holy Spirit truly is here. And in some powerful way, all of His goals will happen through you. Thank you once again. God bless you.